The Hearts of Gold podcast is brought to you by the Grow and Share Network, produced by Off the Walter Media.
Welcome to Hearts of Gold. Today we have Montserrat with us. Hi.
Hello.
Can you tell us about your Girl Scout Gold Award project?
Definitely. So my Gold Award project was titled Lowering Surface Temperatures, and it actually addressed environmental racism in the community of Southeast LA, specifically in Southgate, which is the city that I am from. And in Southeast LA, there's a lot of environmental racism. This is including factories near school sites, lead contamination in soils, different kind of carcinogens in the air. So just a lot of environmental factors that can lead to asthma, cancer, and even learning disabilities. And so my project was to lower the surface temperature, which is specifically addressing urban heating. So I led a group of volunteers to plant 40 California native plants and paint the pavement of the new California plant garden to lower the surface temperatures. And we were able to lower them from, I believe it was 98 degrees to around 89. So like a total of 12 degrees Fahrenheit in difference. And this was during the winter time. So during the summer, the difference between the temperatures is going to be a lot larger. And so I was able to come together with different environmental justice organizations and just environmental organizations in general. They were able to table at the event. And so we were able to spread awareness to environmental justice advocacy. And along with that, I was able to do some presentations in the community to advocate for environmental justice and how much it impacts our daily lives.
How did this project originally come about? What was your original impetus?
I've been an advocate for environmental justice since my sophomore year in high school. And so I've worked with Communities for a Better Environment, which is a California-based environmental justice organization. We're in Southeast LA, Wilmington, Richmond, and East Oakland. And so with them, I've done advocacy work surrounding environmental justice. And my first idea was when I was doing a project funded by NASA with Chapman University and UC Irvine about surface temperatures, green spaces, air quality. And so we were using QGIS, which is a mapping software, and EcoStress, which is a satellite that checks the surface temperature. And I was noticing the difference between my community and affluent white communities and how our community has statistically higher surface temperatures. And so that was when I came about the idea to lower surface temperatures in a community space.
What you just said makes me go, wow, because you were doing this as a high school student. This is normally even beyond bachelor's, like master's and doctorate level work, concept wise, it's there. How did you get involved in these projects as a high school student?
I mean, it wasn't always like this. I think environmental justice and environmental racism is something that's very, especially in the community that I'm from, it's kind of like our day-to-day. We don't really see the difference between our community and other communities because we stay so close into the community. So you don't know that you deserve access to clean air, clean water, clean soil until you really get out and learn about it. I started my sophomore year, I did a leadership training with Communities for a Better Environment. That was how I learned about environmental racism and just how much I was impacted. My family's been impacted. My friends are impacted. And so I really had that lived experience. And I was all making the correlations between when I was younger, I grew up with asthma and my sister had lung issues. She had to go to the hospital. And I was all okay, this makes sense. This is happening because of all the carcinogens in our air, because of the toxicity in our soil and that kind of stuff.
What are some changes the public in general can make to become more aware and to even make an impact on some of these issues?
Join organizations. There's a lot of organizations you can join. specifically for environmental justice work, I think there's a really big difference between environmentalism and environmental justice. One is more the social justice background, and the other is more like, oh, let's save the polar bears, let's save, the environment, which like they're both really, really necessary. But obviously one is a little more impactful towards when it comes to social justice. So I would say, even if you're not from a community that, is impacted by environmental racism, funding those organizations really, really helps because they are nonprofits, and the funding is really how we're able to do this research, do this policy work, do this community organizing work.
So you mentioned some of the organizations you worked with. Especially if we're not in California, how can we find some of these organizations and support them as you've asked us to?
Google is like your best resources. It's literally your best friend. Like, it's so easy to go on Google and be all like environmental justice organizations in blank state that you live in.
What challenges did you have while you were doing your project, and how did you overcome them?
At first, my project was going to be to lower the surface temperatures on my high school campus because we have a huge blacktop and it's used for sports and PE. And during the summer and like even during the fall and the winter with California weather, it gets like over 100 degrees, maybe 120, 130. So that was originally my plan for my Girl Scout Gold Award, to lower the surface temperature of the blacktop. So I had everything in place. I had the paint, I had the approval from the district, and then the paint company just stopped responding to all my emails, stopped responding to my calls. And I was all like, okay, let's look for another paint company. But with another paint company, I had to reapply for the district to accept my proposal. And the second time around, the district did not accept my proposal. And this is because I have presented my project already to the superintendent through the Superintendent Student Advisory Council that I was a part of. And the superintendent actually stole my idea and decided to implement it on his own, and kind of just took advantage of the fact that I was trying to do a project myself, kind of ageism type thing. And it was really, really saddening to me. And I was just like so ready to give up on my project at that point. But I continued. And so I was all like, okay, the school isn't going to work out, clearly. So I decided to go with the city. And so I asked the city for a place to be able to do my project. And then I found out that the mayor also tried to take my project. So I had a previous connection with somebody on the city council, and I had asked him what he thought about my project, if I was able to do it somewhere in the city. And he was all like, wait, that sounds extremely familiar to something that the mayor had just proposed. And by pure coincidence, well, not really coincidence, the mayor was the softball coach at my high school. So obviously there was a direct correlation. He found out what I was trying to do at the high school, decided to implement it into the city, which is great. I really appreciate that he thought my idea was amazing, but I obviously would love credit for something that I was trying to implement, And so putting that behind, I decided to work with Parks and Rec and implement my project in a local park called Hollydale Park. And that's how I went through all of these challenges, but in the end, definitely was able to complete my project. And this was mainly because my mom was really supportive, and so was my Girl Scout troop leaders and my Girl Scout troop in general. I had another 2 Girl Scout sisters who were completing their Gold Award project while I was going through mine. And they were also struggling with it. So we were able to just kind of talk it out and kind of let things out. Like, we were very much crying a lot during our meetings, simply because it's so heartbreaking that 2 adult males would think to take away my project just because I'm, a young female color. Like, it's very oppressing.
That is heartbreaking, and also shows, though, the impact of the Gold Award, because that is part of what you hope for a gold award when you're done is that other people are inspired by it and repeat your project. But you don't want them taking it from you before it's done. Oh my goodness. So heartbreaking. Can you share for those that aren't clear the paint connection, how the paint lowers surface temperature?
Certain colors of paint have certain heat absorbency. So for example, black paint will absorb heat a lot more than a white beige color, which will reflect the heat. So if you have a concrete drive-through and it's like black pavement, it's going to absorb all your heat. Same thing with like house roofs. If your house roof is black, it's kind of just absorbing all the heat. But if it's like an off-white or like a much lighter gray, it's going to reflect the heat along with like the roof, sunroof. That's why most roofs are like white, off-white. But yeah, that's the correlation between the two.
What special memory do you have from your project?
Just the community coming together and helping paint and plant. And they also learned a lot. I personally did not know how to like properly plant a California native plant. So we had an organization come out, teach us how to do it, and then we got to do it on our own, which was super cool. We also got to take home our own plants. We got to take home like brochures, posters, just a bunch of cool stuff. And yeah, a lot of the community members that came out were part of the club I created on campus, which was called Youth Action. It's an environmental justice club that we have at my high school now. And yeah, I was just so happy to see everyone come out and support my project.
Who was on your team and how did they help you?
So my team was made up of the different environmental organizations that I had. So it was Tree People, it was Sella Youth Outdoors with Nature for All, and it was Communities for a Better Environment. And along with that, we had other more environmental groups help out with reaching out for volunteers. So that would be like Sierra Club and SOMA, which stands for Santa Monica Mountain Fund, something like that. But we had different environmental organizations. And then we had my high school club, which a lot of them came out to volunteer. And we also had just people from the community that were able to come and help us plant and paint.
You are a member of a council who has one of the largest Gold Award classes each year. And yet you were the one from your council that won the GSUSA National Gold Award Scholarship. How did that make you feel? And what do you think got you that award?
I was overjoyed. I simply was kind of in shock because I found out the day of when we were receiving our gold award. So I was super happy. I was super excited. I was also really grateful because I like genuinely needed the money for school. The school I'm at, I do have to pay for tuition. And so it has helped a lot. I feel like the reason why I was able to receive the scholarship was because I was able to pursue through the insane amount of hardships that I had to go through. I know when I was getting my proposal redone, the person I was working with from my county was telling me she has never heard of a Girl Scout go through so many hardships that I had to go through. And so I think that definitely helped out in when I was talking about how important the work was for me, because it was so close to my heart. I was able to continue through these hardships, because if it was something that I didn't really have a connection with, I probably would have dropped it really quickly. But because it's my passion and it's definitely something I want to be doing as a career in the future, I definitely had that connection to my project, which led me to receiving the scholarship.
We often hear about Gold Award candidates getting frustrated with the process and all of those pieces. You really persevered. From what you just shared, like that is an abnormal amount of challenges that are thrown at you during the process. I know that your troop, you have a really strong support system within your troop. And you mentioned it a little bit, but really, what was it that kept you going and kept trying? Because that really was a lot to overcome.
I think it was definitely myself knowing that the impact I was going to make in my community was going to be so positive, especially in my community who's, low income, doesn't really get opportunities like this. It's kind of a thing where like me coming from the community, knowing what my community needs and being able to implement that was what made me want to finish my gold award, simply because the project was going to impact my community so greatly. That really made me want to persevere through everything.
You did not start Girl Scouts at the very young age when most Girl Scouts join. You started Girl Scouts when a lot of Girl Scouts are starting to choose other activities. What brought you to Girl Scouts and made you choose that and continue in it?
So my mom actually had me join Girl Scouts. I think it was as a junior. And I had stayed with the troop up until COVID, and my troop had kind of just broken off. And so after COVID, or like towards the end of it, my mom was all like, do you want to find another troop? And this was already my sophomore year of high school. So I joined a completely new troop my sophomore year of high school. And the troop had known each other since they were daisies. So they had really, really strong connections with each other. And so I was scared. I was all like, oh, these people know each other for so long. Like, what if I'm like the new person who like kind of just is on the side? You know what I mean? But my Girl Scout troop did a great job at making me feel at home. And I felt so welcome, like immediately. And I made with the other two Girl Scouts that finished their gold award the same year as me. They are like my best friends now. So I definitely made really, really strong connections and bonds with them, even though I didn't start as like a daisy with them. It's like we were all at the same level no matter what.
You are at school. You're at college now. Can you tell us what your future plans are?
I'm at Williams College right now. It's the number one liberal arts school in the East Coast. We're in Massachusetts. And so I am hoping to double major in environmental studies and biology. And then after that, hopefully go to grad school, receive a PhD, go into academia, be able to do my own research as a field scientist, and have that research be able to provide backup and like scientific numbers, scientific knowledge for policy making in the environmental justice community, for low-income communities, and historically oppressed communities like the one I'm from.
You clearly are someone who is open to challenges and willing to step outside your comfort zone. How hard was the decision to go to a school on the East Coast when you're from the West Coast?
I'm going to be completely honest. I always wanted to go far for college. So it's a funny story. My parents actually kind of just followed me throughout my educational system. Like my mom worked at my elementary school, at my middle school. My dad worked at my high school, and my mom became a substitute teacher at my high school. So I was all like, I need a break from you guys and school. And I was all like, I'm going to go far. But also the financial aid packages here at Williams are the best. And it was kind of the best I was going to get. So, and the academics is very rigorous. And it's definitely somewhere where I was able to push myself academically compared to my high school. So it's something that I really liked. And I love the architecture in East Coast schools.
Well, good luck in your studies for sure. You have it sounds like you have a long road ahead of you, but you have a clear vision, and I wish you luck in attaining that vision. Can you tell us what other Girl Scout activities that you've done that are good memories for you?
The Rose Parade. So I was actually in the Tournament of Troops, and I was able to walk the Rose Parade with the other two Girl Scouts that completed their gold award the same year as me for my troop. And that was kind of what made us like bond a lot more. So just it was a great experience also. Kind of like, I wasn't expecting there to be so many people. I had ran the marathon like 2020 and I was all like, there's no way there's going to be more people than the marathon. But the bleachers were completely packed, like the whole route down, you're like waving at people. So it was a really good experience.
Can you share some of the prep work that goes into being a part of the Tournament of Roses?
You have to complete your Gold Award by the time the Tournament of Roses opens, or have a proposal accepted by the time the Tournament of Roses opens. And so as far as prep work, it's just marching practices, and we have a couple events to kind of like build community between the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. And yeah, it's a lot of marching practice. It's not too bad. It's like holding a 10-pound pole, but it's between you and another Girl Scout, and then you have another 2 Girl Scouts to trade off with. So it's definitely doable. It is a lot of walking though.
I think it's a 3-mile route for the parade. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of walking. And when you're holding, you got to keep your arms in a certain position.
You're waving all the time as well. So yeah.
What else would you like to share with the audience?
When looking to find your Girl Scout Gold Award project, definitely go with something that you're passionate about. I've heard a lot of girls kind of go for like something they're interested in, but not really passionate about. It makes it a lot harder to, create your proposal and just kind of pitch it to people. I think the reason why my proposal was like accepted immediately was because I was so passionate about what I was doing that it kind of just like made a connection between the people reading it. And they were all like, oh yeah, like this is something that is going to impact the community. This is something that she's clearly passionate about. So I would say going for something that you're passionate about makes it feel less like work as well. It makes it feel like you're doing something for the better of both the community and yourself realistically, because it's going to definitely help you with your mental health in the end.
How do you make your s'mores?
I have the marshmallow and I put it in the campfire and I let the flame go all over it, and I'll like twist it around to make sure that it's like completely burned, and then I'll blow out the fire and I'll have my graham cracker, my chocolate. I'll put the marshmallow in the middle, close the graham cracker, pull out the stick and eat it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure to click follow or subscribe so you always know when new episodes are released. Power your passion and conquer your challenges.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to be on the show to share your story of how you earned your Gold Award, reach out and send an email to growandsshare@outlook.com. Be sure to catch up on our previous shows on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, as well as view the full video versions at youtube.com/Cheryl M. Robinson. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.